Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Pranzata Podcast. This is your host, Andrea Pranzatelli. Today's guest is Dr. Stef. Dr. Stef is a nutritionist and doctor who specializes in hormonal balance in women. Before we get into it, I have a lot of questions for her. This is episode 113. If you are new to this channel and you like what you hear today, please don't forget to hit subscribe. It is my mission to grow this channel this year, and your support would be incredibly helpful. Okay, Dr. Stef, thank you so much for doing this. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. I talk about nutrition and health a lot on my podcast and on my Instagram. So I'm like, maybe I should get an actual specialized person to do this instead of me, being one of those like fake YouTube, like unqualified to talk about this. So my first question for you is actually, so it's funny, a lot of people know hormones in a general sense. Like I use the word hormone all the time, but on a biological level, I actually have no idea what a hormone actually is. So before we get into the questions, I think it would be useful for me and for the listeners to know, when we talk about hormonal health, what is a hormone on a scientific level?
Yeah. So I think when people hear, well, first of all, thank you for having me on the podcast.
You're welcome. Yeah, no,
I am privileged and honored. I think people hear hormones and they're just thinking about sex hormones, right? So they're just thinking about their estrogen, their progesterone, their testosterone, but realistically, it's way more than that. Your hormonal system is really the catalyst for a lot of pathways in your body. But you have neurohormones, the dopamine, serotonin, the list is endless. You have hormones that control your appetite with your leptin and your ghrelin that controls if you're full or if you're hungry. You have insulin, which regulates blood sugar, fat storage, fat burning controls. And I think the realistic way to like kind of break it down is hormones will attach to receptors and then cause these beautiful biological pathways in your body. Or it could be the opposite. They could not be getting, they could be inactive, or they could not be attaching to receptors, or they could not be broken down properly, which could cause all different kind of things. So weight gain, hormonal imbalances, liver and kidney issues, gut issues. They're so powerful that there's receptors on hormone receptors on all the cells in your body. So it's not just as simple as, it controls one thing. It really, like, all of your organs are really controlled by hormones.
Wow. Okay. No, that's really good to know. And it's good to like picture that, like to keep that in mind, that it's all connected, and we do have a degree of control over how our hormones choose to express themselves. So I don't know if I'm using that correctly. I've heard recently something called gene expression. Can you say the same thing for hormones? Can you say hormone expression, or is that not a thing?
Well, genes are, the DNA, the makeup of who you are, but they're either expressed or as a phenotype, or they're not expressed. So basically what that means is, just because you have a gene that was given to you by mom and dad, it doesn't mean that gene is going to be turned, kind of like a light switch. It doesn't mean the light switch is going to be turned on. What kind of controls the light switch would be so many different things: environmental toxins, diet, medications, stress, products that you're using. I mean, the list literally goes on. Stress being probably the dominant force that people are really neglecting in their life, but those things will turn a gene on. They will express the gene. So 90% of genes are expressed through environmental and external influences, where 10% are just actually okay. And that's kind of where you hear like, what happened to this young child who developed cancer? Unfortunately, that 10% of that gene was just turned on. It wasn't,
Gotcha.
There wasn't anything typically that would have caused that. It's just, there is a 10%. But the release of hormones are absolutely affected by really the same thing. So it's not so much are they going to be turned on and they're going to be turned off, but they're going to be influenced, right? So like, for example, your stress will profoundly influence your thyroid hormone and the release of thyroid hormone, because of how it's affecting your brain. And everything starts from the brain and trickles down hormonally. So everything happens in the brain, and then hormone signals will get triggered in the brain to then go be released and stimulate different organs. But if that doesn't happen, usually it's because of stress, mostly stress, poor diet, medication, stuff like that.
Right. Okay. No, that's good to know, like how intertwined everything is. My next
Yeah.
question for you. Okay, so now that we've established what a hormone is, my next question is about balancing hormones, which is I know your passion and what you work with. It's funny that we're having this conversation because as of lately, I've become obsessed. It's just my personal philosophy or theory I've been adapting lately. I've been noticing personally that it seems to be that balance is kind of the secret ingredient to almost anything beautiful. Like, I'm a musician, so there's like certain elements of like, okay, finding the perfect balance of how I practice, like practicing regularly but slowly, like just certain things. That might be a bad example. If I could give a more concrete example, okay, just Earth, like just the nature of the fact that Earth exists. It's because it's a balance of different circumstances that allow Earth to exist. And I'm finding this like universal law of balance existing in almost everything that's like created and beautiful, and it really ties in with what you're saying about hormonal balance and how the body can be different based on your hormonal balance. So my question for you is, what are some signs that your hormones may be out of balance? Like what could be
Oh,
some
love the
indicators?
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
love the question. Before I answer the question, I love that you said that because the balance is major key. I mean, you have that balance in your life. So something I love to teach because I don't want to teach people a diet. I want to teach them how to have balance. So in the beginning, I put people through a sugar detox and teaching them about food. But the idea here is to not have you on an extreme diet, and it's to have balance. It's to have control. So I couldn't agree more. And symptoms of really hormonal imbalance, especially for my women. Men, I'll talk about men a little bit just because I know there's guys listening to this. A low testosterone is just like an epidemic right now. There's so many men in their late 20s and especially in their 30s. And I'm sure 40s, but really noticing in their 30s that their testosterone is really low. And that could definitely be from, it's probably most dominantly from just all the chemicals that are in our foods and our beverages and our plastics. There's a lot of xenoestrogens and chemicals that are mocking estrogens. So it's really affecting men's testosterone. So something to look out for is just fatigue, hard time losing body fat, kind of noticing that they're having a hard time weight training. The easiest way to obviously boost testosterone is to lift weights for men and women. I'm a huge advocate of making sure that people are like weight training, but they'll notice really excessive fatigue, hard time losing weight for men, which should be an alarming thing because men typically have it easier than women, right? They're 10% hormonally made, we're 50% hormonally made. You cannot compare us. Kind of fat tissue around their chest area is another obvious sign. Kind of that got high. If you put a like a float around their belly, right? If you put one of those, I don't know, donut floats, if they're gaining weight in that area, that could be a sign. But for women, really PMS, we have been inherently told that PMS is normal. It is not normal. So PMS is not normal. We've been told that that's just a part of our cycle. It's just something that we're going to experience. But I like to compare PMS really similar to if you have a fever. If you have a fever, your body is telling you, hey, you're sick. You probably shouldn't go to work today because you're sick. You're actively sick. PMS is a sign that your hormones are sick. So if you're having breast tenderness, if you're having mood swings, especially in your luteal phase, which is like really the 9-ish days leading up to your period, if you're having so many different things, migraines, acne around your jaw, chest or back acne, like I said, irritability, insomnia,
I get
bloating,
really
fat.
emotional. Like, sorry to
Mm,
interrupt you, but just
you're
to
good.
like put input on what happens to me. I get PMS hard. I do get my breasts get tender. I get really irritable, like, and
Mm,
sad, and like I ruminate on past things when I'm having PMS, and I get
mm.
wildly hungry. I don't know if that part of it is normal, or if that's like a hormonal issue as well. I get
Uh,
very
It
hungry.
it is a hormone. Yeah, because
Yeah.
usually the week leading up to our cycle, we get really hungry. But the biggest reason why so many women are like, Dr. Steph, I feel like I can eat everything the week before. Well, that's actually normal because your metabolism speeds up during that time. It wants more
Right.
energy, it wants more
Okay.
calories. But unfortunately, we are all plagued with this go, go, go. Majority of us are under eating and we're not eating enough. So then all of a sudden this week before your period comes and you're like, well, why am I ravenous? Well, you probably don't eat enough regardless. We're so busy. We're running here, we're running there, we're skipping lunches. Even people, I love to fast. I'm a fasting doctor. Oh, intermittent fasting or fasting for women doesn't work. That's a lie. That's a lie. I've helped many women learn how to fast and extended fast. I've been doing it for many years. But if you're doing it improperly and you're skipping meals during your eating window, yeah, of course you're going to have cravings and you're going to have food triggers and you're going to have cravings for sweets. So that like leading up to your period, if you're feeling really hungry, listen to your body and feed it obviously good nutritious foods, that 80 to 90% of your week. But that's why it is a normal thing. But when it's ravenous and then we're skipping meals and then we're binging or we're eating stuff that's bad, that's when it becomes a problem. That's when it's going to affect your hormones. Actually, it's going to make it worse and then you'll gain weight from it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Okay, my next question for you. I'm suspicious, and again, this is all just anecdotal based on my life, but
Sure.
I'm suspicious that coffee was fucking me up. Pardon me for the French. I'm suspicious that coffee was messing me up. I will not give up coffee. I love it. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke weed. I don't do drugs. It's my only vice, and I love it, and I want it every day. But I have cut down on it tremendously. Is there any truth to that too much caffeine or too much coffee is kind of messing Americans up?
Oh my gosh, the truth is the truth is so real. There's so much literature to support that. And the fact of the matter is coffee inherently is not bad. There are actually a lot of health benefits to coffee. It's just that how do I say this? It's not even that we're overdoing it. Well, most people are, right?
Yeah,
I really
was.
recommend under 120 milligrams of caffeine a day, definitely under, if not max, which 120 is around like a regular sized coffee mug, right?
Yeah.
Most people are doing more than that. I personally, I understand where you're coming from. Who doesn't? I'm an espresso girl. I love espresso. Believe it or not, espresso is less caffeine than coffee. People think it's the opposite. It's 40 to 60 milligrams, whereas a regular cup of coffee is about like 120 milligrams. It's just an initial stronger punch.
Yeah.
But it actually gets detoxed from your body faster than regular coffee does. I don't really understand that pathway yet. I just know that some people have more of the enzyme than others. But anyway, so is coffee is it bad? The fact is it's cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. So whatever spikes cortisol can be bad depending on who you are, what time it's happening. So I really advise people to try to not do caffeine before 8 a.m. because really between like 5-ish a.m. to like 7:30 is when your waking cortisol is supposed to be peaking at its highest on its own naturally. So if you're influencing that with either HIIT workouts at that time or caffeine at that time, you're going to increase that spike in cortisol, and then you're going to mess with the levels throughout the day. You'll find yourself probably afternoon crash. Spiking cortisol will triple the release of insulin. Insulin's your fat storage hormone. It'll start priming your body into fat storage, which obviously is a huge issue because all of us are trying to do the opposite. So how does it affect your hormones? Well, if cortisol is being just pumped out and dominating in your body, it does this really annoying thing where it'll steal your mother hormone called pregnenolone, which makes testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. So what it's doing, your body's like cortisol, 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 cortisol. Oh, wait, we need more. Let me go steal this hormone over here to convert it to cortisol. Now your body starts releasing less of your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, causing these imbalances. All of a sudden, you're having PMS symptoms. All of a sudden, you're having a hard time losing weight. All of a sudden, your thyroid's getting beat up from this constant release of cortisol. It's a whole cool web. So to answer your question, you are probably right. People really ask me the question about fasting with coffee. I tell them, I'm like, if you're going to be having regular black coffee in the morning and then not breaking your fast till 11, you got to be careful with that because you don't want to be spiking your blood sugar up and then not eating for a while. Tricks of the trade there, you could add plain collagen powder in there to try to suppress that blood sugar spike.
What I had done that really changed things, because like looking back, I would start my day with coffee, no food in my system, no water in my system, and already sort of dehydrated to begin with because I wasn't drinking a lot of water anyways. So I would start with my day with a mug of coffee, and because I was addicted to it, I would have maybe up, like, this is crazy, but I would have up to 8 mugs of coffee a
Oh,
day, which is
wow.
totally insane. What I had done to change it was I limit myself to 2 mugs of coffee per day, and I make sure I drink water before I start my coffee, and I make sure I eat which I know will mess up the fasting, I guess, but I eat like a half a banana just so I have something in my system to
Hmm.
absorb
Hmm.
it. And something incredible, I stopped having anxiety. Like, that's another thing I'm suspicious of too. It's like everybody's like, I'm anxious. It's like, no, you're high. Like, you're high all the time. And when I cut down on the coffee, I noticed like I was just happier and calmer. So it really has been making an enormous difference for me, you know?
Well, one, I think it's amazing that you had that realization, honestly, because people are definitely in denial. Coffee will increase anxiety 20 times out of like 20. It absolutely will do that to you. It has done it
Yeah.
to everybody, whether they want to recognize it or acknowledge it or not. It'll amplify it. The more that you do it, heart palpitations, chest pain, anxiety, clenching of the jaw, waking up with jaw, neck stiffness and tightness because you're clenching in your sleep. This is caffeine related. People are doing energy drinks and not thinking about it. And sometimes you got to be careful of herbs. So something I do when I'm trying to like kind of switch caffeines up and see which one really affects my body, which doesn't, is like, for example, a protein powder that I drink has Chinese herbs in there and ginsengs in there, and that'll give you like, that will stimulate you as well. Um, so, but you have to play around and see, does it, how much does it affect your body? How much does it? When I have that, I can literally, my heart feels like it's going to come out of my chest. That is a sign, friends, that you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, no,
Whereas espresso doesn't do that to me.
I started feeling like I started noticing I'm like, I need everybody wants energy, but when I was like that high on caffeine, it felt like I could like launch into outer space. I'm like, I don't know. Oh my God, there's the thumbs up there.
I know.
I don't know if I need that much coffee. Like, I don't need to just like jump out of my skin. Like, it's too much, you know?
Yeah, and I gotta say, as of like the last month, I have been getting up at 7:20 and just going for a 20-minute walk so the sun can hit my skin, my eyes, my face, to start suppressing melatonin in the morning and releasing cortisol naturally. What a huge shift when it comes to just giving your body natural energy. You really feel like you almost don't need caffeine at all after that. And I know it sounds so simple. And so, to your point, grabbing a nice glass of water, whether you just want to do that or putting a little bit of lemon in there or just water with electrolytes, getting a good electrolyte supplement. And of course, whoever's listening to this, if they have questions about supplements or products, they can always message me on Instagram. That's like my livelihood. But that will really wake you up. Other people are doing cold plunges in the morning, which I think I might hop onto that bandwagon. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Um, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. There's some
I,
work to it.
I believe in the cold plunge theory. I've heard enough people like I interviewed a guy who said he felt like a newborn baby. Like, he was like, I feel like a newborn baby after doing a cold plunge. I believe it. I hate the cold so
I
much. Like, I hate
know.
the cold. So I don't know
I
if I could get
know.
into it or if I could like maybe find an alternative method to reach some of those things. But I'm sure it would be incredibly beneficial. I just, oh, it sounds
It's amazing.
horrible. Yeah.
I know. For me too. I got the sauna, the portable sauna. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I want to do it because the benefits are profound, but
Yeah.
ooh, a little scared.
Yeah, no, heat, like incredible heat. That I like that. I like getting into a hot sauna that could make me faint. I like that. But
Yeah.
cold, no, I don't like that. All right, another personal theory I have, and again, totally feel free to like be like, no, you're wrong if I'm wrong. And this is anecdotal based on my life. Um, I've experimented with different diets throughout my life, and I've tried like everything you can think of. I've tried veganism, I've tried ketogenic, I've tried Atkins, which is like similar to ketogenic,
Hmm.
I guess.
Hmm.
All those things. I carnivore, personally, I found that I've heard some stories of men who seem to thrive on the carnivore diet and Atkins and keto. But as a woman, I always felt that I did so much better with healthy fats and healthy carbs.
Mm.
Is there a truth to that women need all these macronutrients to be balanced, or even men for that matter? Or is it really just individual basis? Everybody's body's different, so you can't really make a claim like that.
Well, I think that's the hardest part about social media right now is
Yeah.
that people are really overwhelmed with information.
Mm-hmm.
They they're having a hard time. Hold on one second. I got to get my charger. I need to charge my phone.
You're good.
They're having a hard time. Can you still hear me well?
Yep.
They're having a hard time kind of realizing that they should be, oh, somebody's doing the 30 grams of protein in the morning, 30 here, 30 there. I'm going to try that. Or, oh, someone had a lot of success with doing 1 meal a day fasting. Or, oh, someone had a lot of success with keto or counting macros. So to answer your question straightforward is everybody is different. Like people have had success with macros. People have had success with counting calories. People have had success with each individual, like different kind of diet. But to my point, I said earlier, men are 10% hormonally made. So hormones influence blood sugar, hormones influence your gut bacteria, hormones influence your inflammation, hormones influence everything about your body. So they have less factors involved. Whereas if they go keto, they probably will drop weight really fast and they'll probably feel really good for them. Hormones love healthy fat and healthy protein, but yes, we do need carbs as well. I just think that people get a little too stuck on one thing. Like, for example, there are carbs in veggies. There are carbs in fruit. There are carbs in nuts and seeds. Like they just think, oh, bread, rice, pasta, that's what carbs are. They're just thinking starches. And so they get kind of lost in that. Well, I have to have brown rice, Dr. Steph, or I have to have chickpea pasta. And I'm like, just to give you my personal, my body doesn't love starches. I gain weight really easy from overdoing personally starches. They do inflame me. I think those starch I can handle the best is sweet potatoes. It's probably top of my list recommendation. I really love sweet potatoes and I love to recommend sweet potatoes to people. But there's so much information out there. People like, oh, beans have a lot of lectins in the outer coating and it affects your stomach and this, there's so much out there. But at the end of the day, what I find to be helpful to tell someone is that balance is key. Healthy fat and protein is what hormones are really made of, honestly. Carbs are coming from nuts and seeds, fruit and veggies. It's important to not forget that. And you can do starches, but you have to listen to your body. A lot of people are doing starches too much, and then they don't understand why they're not losing any weight, or they're doing it every night at dinner, and they're not understanding that their bodies, depending on who you are, most women, your body's going to store that as fat unless you're training really hard. Like macros work well when you're on a training routine, because you know your expenditure, you know what you need to take back in. I am not going to talk ill on macros. Even calorie counting people have had success with. It's just I have found people who calorie count are most of the people that approach me and have calorie counted before have a really unhealthy relationship with food. That's what bothers me. That's what bothers me, because it's about your behavior with food. It's about understanding that you're not dieting, you're just learning about food, which is what really important for me to teach people. I don't like seeing people develop that behavior. And I've noticed that macros and counting calories, a lot of people, especially women more so than men, will get a little unhealthy relationships with food.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that about learning how to eat healthy and coming from a different place. When I was younger, I feel like I made the mistake of every diet for me was about being skinny. Like that was the only thing on my mind was I'm doing this to be skinny. And I didn't think about the big picture. So for example, I did keto. I experimented with keto for a while, lost a lot of weight really fast, but my vagina smelled weird. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I
right,
mean?
right.
There's actually like a thing called keto crotch. Like I looked up to it. I'm like, why do I have yeast infections all the time now?
Yep.
And there was like an actual thing. So I'm like, as I age, I'm 35 now. I'm not really coming from a place of being skinny, which it's nice to be fit. But I'm really just trying to think of the big picture now as I age. Like it's more than just being skinny. It's also like how is everything feeling? Do I have headaches? Do I have migraines? Like am I bloated? Like bloating's a sign something's wrong. So I kind of just listen to that more than strictly lose weight, get skinny,
Which is fantastic. And like a big thing for us females is that cycling carbs throughout the month is really important. So like there's a time, for example, during your menstrual cycle, during your period, your body your metabolism has really decreased. It's really slowed down. It's really functioning at a slow pace. So you're going to find yourself really not that hungry. and your blood sugar is going to be really sensitive to carbs. So there's like, that is a time where I tell people to be like a healthy version of keto. And that's like maybe 9 days, 10 days at a time, that first half of the month, probably
Yeah.
anywhere from 7 to 9 days. But they also have to listen to their body. And then during ovulation, your body doesn't want you to be super keto. You can have healthy carbs in your diet, but then there's a time frame right after that your body will be sensitive to carbs again. So it's this kind of carb cycling that I noticed the most important time for us females, and I've learned, not even just noticed, I've noticed in myself, but I've learned by literature and studying this, is that week before, when metabolism's just bumping, is a really great time to have carbs in your diet. Even, and so like a lot of women suffer if they're just doing keto, because that is important time your body does want carbs. And you're gonna feel it too. Like you're gonna feel like your eyes sunken in, like a heaviness to your eyes. You're gonna feel like you're eating really clean and you're working out, but all like, why do I feel fat this week? And then the crazy thing is, I tell them like, but if you ate like, if you start adding like sweet potatoes into your lunch, or a nice healthy wrap or something during your lunchtime, you're going to be feeling like a thin rock star, a
Yeah.
goddess. And you're going to be like, wait a second, but I'm eating carbs. So carbs are not the enemy. It's just
Yeah.
listening and learning a lot about your body. Like I'll tell you, there are times where I eat carbs and it's just not sitting well. And I'm talking starches. It's not sitting well in my stomach. I feel bloated from it. I feel like I gained weight, and like, instantly the next day I look puffy. I feel like my arms got like fat. And I know it's very much internal. And it's like a me thing, but I feel swollen from it. And then there's times of like I said, the week before the cycle, where I'm eating it and I'm feeling like I'm literally losing weight from it. So it's really cool to learn that about your body.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Like I've been learning so many things about my body lately that I never knew. I had suffered from IBS this year, and it's been a lot of trial and error to get through it. And I started learning that I was having issues digesting things that I would have never imagined like be difficult. Like so for one, beets. I can't digest beets. I don't know why. I'm not sure why. They're a root vegetable. Root vegetables are known to be so good for you. They're so purple. So just like the fact that they're purple just seems so vibrant and full of life. But every time I eat beets, I can't digest it. So
Yeah.
it's just fascinating to learn about my own body and figure it out, you know?
Oh, yeah, and then some people are like, "Oh, it's just me genetically," but actually it has all. If I could boil down health into one, like, main category, it's our gut, right? Like, in our gut, we have a microbiome with good and bad bacteria, and a big reason why we can't digest foods, or maybe have chronic UTIs or infections or this or that, is because of our gut. So I really do recommend people get proper stool testing done by an integrative doctor, like myself. A lot of the
Yeah.
gastroenterologists are doing more medical grade exams and stuff, but we're talking parasite stool kind of test, where it's a comprehensive test. So it's testing if you have any parasites, any viruses, your dysbiotic bacteria, your bad bacteria, your commensal bacteria. You need to see what's going on in there. And then, of course, like if you have leaky gut markers, if you have inflammatory markers, that matters a lot when it comes to
Yeah.
digestion and your health. IBS is kind of like a blanket statement. I
Yeah.
have it as well.
Yeah.
Due to stress, definitely due to stress and upbringing, and not knowing anything. The younger generation is so fortunate, because I feel like people like us in our 30s are like renegades for this stuff, because we went through a lot of crap and now we're learning about it. So like these young 20-year-olds, if they're paying attention to this, like man, they're gonna just thrive. A lot of the reason why I do what I do is because I had IB. I'm still fixing my IBS. It's been literally 11 years. I don't know if it's ever going to stop, because I think it's constantly like, a yin up and down situation. But I was on the pill for 7 years. I came off of it because it wrecked my body. It caused so much anxiety, it caused depression, it caused gut issues, which led me into IBS. Really anti the pill. Most people who know me know that. But um, no one was able to help me. So the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing with hormones and gut and health is because, one, yeah, they're all related, but two, I needed to figure out answers. Like it's not just as simple as, oh, I can't eat beets anymore. No, there's a reason. There's something going on in our stomach that's causing that. There's a bad bacteria that's thriving, that's interfering with digestion and maybe stomach acid. So there are so many pieces to the puzzle. So sometimes when people are just kind of like doing one thing and not seeing results, because the body is one massive puzzle.
The
It's
balance.
not
It
as
goes
easy.
back to that balance we were talking about. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So I guess in theory, if there was something bigger at play causing gut issues, if you were able to get to the root of whatever those issues were, you may be able to digest beets later down the road. Is that
Thousand percent.
wow.
1000%. Yeah. 100. Yeah, absolutely. If you address gut issues first, like if you get a comprehensive stool test done, that's something I order for people all the time. I even ordered it for myself. We can literally see what's going on there. And herbs are awesome. Supplements and herbs. If anybody wants to speak ill on supplements and herbs and tinctures, they are they're not paying attention. You could absolutely, and I'm talking like simple things: oregano, rosemary, silver, uva ursi. Like these herbs kill off certain strands of bad bacteria, and we have access to them because there's botanists and biologists and scientists and all these people out there who have come together and made really really great supplements. Of course, going through someone who knows your supplements is important, but yeah, you could literally kill off these things in your body, and then your body can start functioning like a well-oiled machine.
What is some I am a believer in supplements and herbs. I'm drinking a rosemary no, peppermint tea as we speak.
Love it.
What are some of the but from somebody who's against supplements and against herbs, what is some of the pushback? Like what's their argument there?
They don't work. They're not regulated by the FDA. Your body already makes this stuff. What else do they say? They're just medications. So let me just be really clear, really quick on supplements. Supplement medications alter your body. They change your body, hence why they come with a list of crazy side effects. Supplements are to enhance systems in your body. So, like for example, I like to use the analogy like a Ford dealer, a car manufacturer. There's an assembly line of people putting pieces together to form a car. But each person has a job to do. They all have the responsibility to work on this car to form the end product, which is this car that they're going to sell to us, right? Well, supplements, including vitamins, minerals, or nutrients, whatever, all the things, micronutrients, they are the people putting the work in to form the bigger picture. So they're on the assembly line and they all have a job to do and they're all responsible to get an end result, right? That's
Mhm.
what they are. They're called cofactors. They're helpers to form pathways to help like for example, estrogen detox pathways. You need help getting that pathway through until its final product to metabolize this estrogen to then get that maybe it turns into a damaged DNA to get it out of your body. There are roles, there's responsibilities, and that's what things like magnesium, zinc, selenium, choline, vitamin A, D, E, K. They have a huge role in our body, but people are like, our body makes a lot of this stuff. Well, some it does and some it doesn't, and a lot of it you have to take in because you're not getting it from your typical diet. It's just a fact of life.
And there's probably a
Um,
lot of factors for that as well, like even beyond diet. There might be for example, like you were saying, the lack of sun, like you were saying, you get up and get sun in the morning. I'm sure some people, like because of the modern lifestyle of sedentary and indoors, lights, the cell phone, I'm sure like a bunch of that stuff is messing with what's in our body as well. So I don't see any I don't see any harm in taking supplements to what could be lacking there because of a multitude of factors, in our modern life.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
important thing about supplements is because they're not regulated by the FDA, you have to be like really using trusted brands, and a lot of people don't know what is and what isn't, and it's becoming such a
Mm.
saturated market. So I tell people, I really don't recommend getting supplements off of stuff like Amazon, GNC shelves, Walmart shelving, because they should be stored at a lighting and a temperature, a specific lighting and temperature to even make sure that their potency is as efficient as possible. But also vetting out, I mean, a lot of people can put fillers in there and sell it really cheap to you. And it's a lot of things that are actually not going to do anything. So I've had a lot of people say, oh, I was taking this for so long. I don't notice any difference. When you're on legit supplements from third party tested companies that most of us integrated doctors are using, you know the difference. You can feel the difference. Um, Say if it's for hair growth, you see your hair coming back. Say it's for digestive health, you see your bloating going down. Say it's for energy, like the difference.
Do you mind throwing out any names of brands that you trust?
Oh my
Because
gosh, of
like now I'm
course.
like questioning. I use I don't want to like shit talk any brands either, but I use this very popular Ollie. It's like a gummy brand. Your face is like, I don't know about that brand. It tastes really good. That's why I
Yeah.
like it. But I've always been a little skeptical of like the nighttime one does work for me. There's a nighttime one that helps you sleep. It's got melatonin in it. I do sleep deeply on that, but
Yep.
I am skeptical about the actual vitamin one, like the women's vitamin one. So I'm curious to know like how you feel about those gummy type vitamins, and if you could direct me or the listeners to like a trusted brand or two, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, I don't want to speak ill against the company because I've actually never looked at what's in there or their
Mhm.
ingredients. Typically with the gummies, people are like, well, you'll absorb them better in sugar. There is no way you're getting the proper therapeutic doses of the things that you need in there because you're not going to want to chew on it. You're not going to want to chew on it. It'll taste. It is best to either have the supplement be encapsulated or as a tablet that you can just swallow, and I know people have issues with swallowing, so it is it's a good source for people who really can, because there's a lot of people out there who can't. But usually you would have to take way more than the recommended dosage to get, and then you're dealing obviously with the sugar
Sugar.
that's in there and
Yeah.
the blood sugar spikes and how that feeds the bad gut bacteria in your gut. So kind of have to play, devil's advocate on that. But a couple of brands I pretty much swear by, Douglas Labs, Integrative Therapeutics, Gaia Herbs is probably one of my favorite herbal supplements. Um, oh
AG1.
man,
I hear AG1 promoted on podcasts a lot. Is that a good one? AG1 like greens?
yeah. So AG1 Greens has a lot of good stuff in there. I, I I think they're super expensive personally. As a green supplement alternative though, they got it's pretty clean. They got good stuff in there, so I'm not going to speak ill on them. I think it just really depends on the goal here. I mean,
Yeah.
there's other companies with green, supplement powders to get your greens in that are more affordable, but then you also have to very much pay attention. Okay, well, why are they so much more affordable? Are they third party tested? Are they getting tested for heavy metals? The plot thickens. I really try to tell people, I mean, you're better off like juicing twice a week, like going to a produce place and juicing or turning it into a smoothie of veggies twice a week, then it's hard to trust these everybody. AG1 I think is pretty reliable, but honestly, I have not looked into them. I would have to really
Enough.
look into them to
Yeah.
know. I just know that they're like really on the market.
And
They
they're
have a lot of
expensive.
big names,
Yeah.
people. Yeah, they got a lot of famous people promoting them, so they're like really dominating the market. So I don't know if that's a good thing because I really didn't look too much into their product. I personally don't take it. But supplement wise, there's really just standard ones I really recommend people be on is a solid multivitamin. And if people have questions about supplements, again, just direct them my way. I'll be happy to answer questions or send them. I do send out supplements to people through like my secure platform where I know that they are storing supplements in the lighting and temperature properly. It's a company that only stores supplements from all big carriers. So
I'm definitely going to be reaching out to you in the future. I'm saving a little money right now, so I might get through that as first. But then, like when I feel a little more financially secure, I'm going to reach out about the stool testing because I have IBS issues that I need, and then I'm going to definitely like reach out about some supplements. So thank
yeah,
you so much.
absolutely. My pleasure.
Um, okay, so I have some more questions for you. Okay, so um, I have a male friend who he's in the process of trying to lose some weight, but in the process of trying to lose weight, he's dealing with really negative symptoms like migraines from being hungry, lack of energy, mood issues. Is there, this is like more, he didn't tell me to ask you this question. I'm like curious for him because he was like telling me about his issue. He's like, man, I'm trying to lose weight, but every time I try to lose weight, I just feel miserable in the process. Is there any way to avoid any of that? Or is that just an unfortunate part of losing weight that you go through like hunger and headaches and stuff like that?
Oh, there's more going on there, honest for him. When you're depends on what you're doing. Like for example, if you're going through a sugar detox, you can absolutely have those symptoms because like
Gotcha.
you typically the reason why it depends on what he's doing. So because I don't know a whole lot, do you know what he's doing? Like, do you know how he's losing
Yeah,
weight?
so the way he explained it is that he goes I think a little bit on his background, he used to be heavier, like he used to be heavy set as a teenager, and he really worked towards losing weight and he looks fantastic now. I think he gets these moments where he like binges because like I can speak this for myself. I used to be heavier as a kid as well, and like sometimes I just get these cravings to just like unleash it and and just like
Sure,
eat an entire pint of ice cream, and like sometimes I
sure.
just let myself do it. So I think from what I understand with him, he would just get these cravings and he would just unleash and overeat, I guess you could say, like overeat unhealthy foods, and then he would feel like kind of guilty about it the next day and then just like completely fast the next day to try to
Ah,
make up for it. So
no,
is there
yeah.
is there anything that would work for him where he could like find a more balanced approach to like losing
Yeah,
weight
yeah,
without having all
absolutely.
those headaches and everything, you know?
Yeah, well, his headaches are coming from probably his blood sugar. He's definitely showing signs of bad blood sugar regulation and insulin regulation. If he's having that, I do not recommend doing that, by the way. I do not recommend giving into temptation and then fasting the next day. I think it's a super bad behavior when it comes to food. People tend to question me on that on Instagram, because I love to extend fasting during certain times of the cycle. So like people like, oh, you can eat whatever you want and you can fast. No, 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 no. It's not that simple. But for him to answer your question is like I would really recommend him get into intermittent fasting cycle. So he's eating between an 8 hour window and then he's fasting on a consecutive 16-hour window. So a big reason why people give into that temptation or binge eat is because they're not feeding themselves properly during the day. They're skipping meals a ton or they're kind of grazing or snacking throughout the day and they're saying, "Oh, I'm eating all day." Oh, no, 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 you snacking on nuts all day is not what your body doesn't. I mean, think about it, right? Like we weren't created to have so much access to food if you really think about it. So for us to just kind of snack all day, your body's like, wait a second, am I ever going to stop having to digest? Like what's going on here? So I usually recommend getting into, for him, depends if he wants to fast an 8 hour window where he's not going more than 3.5 hours without feeding himself. So you wouldn't want to eat breakfast and then wait all day and eat dinner. That I would not recommend that because now you're letting your blood sugar drop and spike up again, and it's really that's aggressive for the blood for your blood sugar regulation. It's going to be releasing insulin inappropriately, and it's a big thing that actually causes type 2 diabetes. So managing your blood sugar is single handedly the most important thing when it comes to your health. So for him, I would recommend him, say he ate between 11 to 7, you're eating at 11, you're eating around like 2, you're eating a snack between, your 2 and your dinner time. So you're eating around 4-ish times a day. Unless you do a smaller window, 6-hour window, okay, then you're eating 3 times a day. But you're not just eating and then stopping and then grazing and then binging. That's not a good behavior.
Yeah, it's like I see what you're saying. Like it's developing an unsustainable method. It's a very
Yeah,
unsustainable method. And there's a lot more things, like you were saying, going back to what you were saying before about it's really not just about eating what you want and fasting. There's probably certain nutritional elements in the foods you're choosing to eat that are gonna keep you thinner in the longer picture. You know what I mean? Like that are gonna help you in the bigger picture, I'm assuming. You know what I mean? I think,
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. You want to be eating nutrient dense foods. You want to be eating foods that are going to fill you up and that are going to make you feel good. I mean, people really think fat is the enemy and everyone's so mad at fat all the time. Like, for example, if you're having black coffee, but you decide to do a teaspoon of extra virgin cold pressed olive oil that comes from Morocco, they're the highest in hydroxytyrosol, which is a polyphenol that literally eats up fat around your organs, that cleans up your brain, the toxins in your brain, that regulates your hormones. Like that could make you fast longer. And then now the coffee won't affect your anxiety or spike up your blood sugar like it did before, but it'll keep you in a fasted state. It's a little trick a lot of people do for keto. They'll usually use coconut or MCT oil.
Does
I'm
the
a huge
butter one work? Is the butter effective for
same
that?
idea. Yeah, same idea. I'm just a huge advocate of olive oil. I think it trumps all else.
Are you
And of
Italian?
course, of
I'm
course.
Italian. My last name's Pranzatelli, so you and I can relate
Oh, I
on
knew.
that.
I knew as soon as you said it. I said she's a paisan. My last name's Incolingo.
I know,
My
I
first
saw that.
name's my first name's Stefania. I just go by Dr. Steph because everybody butchers Stefania. So, but yeah. So realistically, people are. It really isn't as hard as everybody. Like we get too obsessive over things. So one thing is the right way, one thing is the wrong way. Back to our balance conversation, right? So I would definitely say though, it will never, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, it is never a good idea to just have the mindset, well, let me binge and then I'll fast after. That
Yeah.
is that's dangerous. That's dangerous for a lot of reasons. Yes, for blood sugar. Yes, for the microbiome of your gut. Yes, it's going to cause more cravings down the long term, but it's just not a good mindset to be in where it's like, oh, whatever, I'll do it. That won't give you long term success. You're going to find yourself dieting forever if you have that kind of relationship with food. I can promise
Yeah.
you that. I used to have that relationship with food, and because I am 100% Italian, my parents were literally immigrants. um, I I grew up heavy because it was manja eat. Food is our culture. Food is our life. Um, and it's supposed to keep you alive. It's not supposed to be the reason that you live. So people have a really unhealthy. We should be eating to stay well and not just indulging in whatever we
Going
want whenever
nuts.
we want. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then say, well, I hate myself, and then have that negative self-talk. I'm so fat, I'm so ugly, I hate the way I look, I hate the way I feel, or this or that. And then it's affecting your mind, and it's affecting who you are as a it's just so much deeper, because really health and wellness is all in your head. It's all mental. You can't be negative. You can't have negative self-talk and not believe in yourself and then expect to have long-term success. That's not the way it works.
Yeah, no, I can relate to what you said about the manja eat because that was a big thing. And on my Italian, I'm half Italian. I'm not 100% Italian. On my dad's side, he's Italian. Um, you know, that was a big thing on my Italian side of the family was the portions, massive portions. And I think that's where, like I was saying, I love to just indulge sometimes. I think that was kind of a learned behavior that I learned just from observing that with my family and food sort of being the center of the world when it came to certain parties and stuff. And there's still a degree of that that I don't want to give up. I do love food. I
Who
I
doesn't?
I, I do kind of live for it in a way. I think it's great. But as I've gotten older, I really had to force myself to learn how to portion my food.
Sure.
That was huge for me. And I still struggle with it to this day, but portions are
Sure.
a big one. And IBS, I'm sure, can be related to massive portions because who the hell could digest easily like a giant plate of food, like especially if it's like high in carbohydrates or anything like that. So
Well, 100%. And I think, like, people ask me all the time, well, Dr. Steph, do you ever eat pizza? I'm like, guys, yeah, I eat what I want to eat. But I will tell you, I do have boundaries. Like, I do it. I try to do an 80-20 where Monday through Friday or Sunday through Thursday, I am really trying to avoid processed foods, gluten. Dairy's been harder for me to give up. I try to avoid dairy 100%. I'm not drinking during the week. I'm not having sugar, or I'm not keeping stuff in my house that's going to entice me because I'm human as well. Then on the weekend, to your point about portion control, you should be able to go to a nice Italian restaurant or get pizza or get a burger and get French fries, and you should be able to really enjoy yourself. But to the biggest thing that you just said, which I couldn't agree more with, and this is what I tell people all the time, is portion control matters. I helped my dad lose 55 pounds and my mom lose 45 pounds, and they're 61 years old. So a big thing people think when they get older they can't lose weight. And the way they did that is, yes, of course, fasting. I taught them how to fast for them. But the biggest way they did that, besides exercise, well, they were no, not besides exercise. They were exercising and they were not losing weight. You cannot outrun a bad diet, friends. You can't. I don't care what you do at the gym. You cannot outrun a bad diet. So as soon as they got their diet right, yeah, sure, they eat healthy during the week, but they definitely portion controlled. If my dad wanted a cheesesteak, he had a cheesesteak, but before he was eating two cheesesteaks. You know what I'm saying? To your
that's
point.
me. That's me.
Yes, and to your point, that's how I grew up as well. It was
Yeah.
having 6 chicken cutlets, not 2. It was having 6 chicken cutlets. It was having 3 bowls of pasta because that was normal. It's
Yeah.
not normal. It is not
Yeah.
normal. So portion control, no matter who you are, no matter what health journey you're on, is major key. Even if you start sitting down and it's all healthy and it's grilled chicken and it's sauteed veggies and it's nuts and seeds, and you're eating, and I used to tell my dad this, I'm like, you're eating massive amounts of your egg white omelet, but it's massive. You're having all this food, you're stretching out your stomach, it's affecting your ghrelin and your leptin, what makes you feel full or which tells you to eat. And
Yeah.
then you're doing it again a couple hours later and you're wondering why you're not losing any weight, because it is affecting your hormones, not just your insulin. So when you're eating smaller portions, even if it's frequently, your body's not going to have that kind of response.
Yeah. No, that's all really good points. Um, okay, my next question for you. I think you already answered this. That's why I'm like hesitating to ask it. But I guess I'll ask it again if there's any more to the picture. What inspired you to want to work with hormones and hormonal balance? I remember you said before that you yourself had struggled a lot in your life with gut issues, and that's what drove you towards this. But is there any more to that picture? Like, is there anything that really drove you to
Yeah.
be passionate about this? You know?
Yeah, so the gut issues, I woke up every day crying and went to bed every day crying. So a ton of pain turned into gut infection, which got worse than when I was in grad school. I was getting my doctorate and my master's at the same time, so I was under a ton of stress. The gut pain was real. So that's what led me into nutrition. The hormonal aspect of it, I was on the pill for 7 years. I came off of it learning in school how bad it was. And then about a year later, I started having these weird like hormonal side effects that didn't last long, but it just kind of provoked me. And I was like, interesting. Nobody told me about this. Nobody, I don't hear a lot of people telling you what to do when you come off the pill, or what your body's going to do when you come off the pill. I hear a lot of women being scared of it, even though I know a lot about how bad it is, right? These synthetic hormones. And then I started helping women lose weight because I love that. But what I've been finding was a lot of women in their late 30s and 40s, really 30s and 40s, were who's even people who've lost weight with me were now gaining it out of nowhere without changing anything. And that kind of just like spun me into a rabbit hole of hormone literature, between books, podcasts, articles. And I'm in the process of getting all my hormone certifications, through a company who basically created a lot of the integrative medicine world, called A4M. But it's basically, the reason why I got into it is because all of literature, diet and exercise, was based off the male body until like 2016, 2017. So us females are in the dark about a lot of this. And I feel really passionate and I feel like a renegade to teach this, so women can know that they're not crazy, that it's not, my favorite expression, it's not you, it's your hormones. Women are like, "Oh, that, why do I feel so inspired like 2 weeks out of the month, and the next 2 weeks I forgot every passion I had, and like I was going to start a business and now I'm not a week later." Those are your hormones, sis. But it's important to know those peaks and those valleys, and then it's important to schedule things in those peaks and those valleys, and to encourage yourself. It's normal to have a drop in your enthusiasm and your excitement and your zest for life, and not to be like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me, I need to be medicated. You see what I'm saying? And that comes with sure, eating properly and exercising, but it comes with just straight up learning it. And that's why I feel so passionate about it.
Yeah, no, interesting. You were mentioning something about the pill before. I had been on the pill when I was much younger, but then I stopped taking it. I don't remember why I stopped taking it, but I did. But I hear a lot of I've seen a lot of literature about that right now, is that some people are kind of taking a step back from the birth control pill. Do you care to elaborate as to why you're very passionately against the birth control pill?
Girl, we would need another podcast for this. We're gonna have to set up round two for this, and just speaking
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Oh man. So your body releases estrogen predominantly in your ovaries, but some in your adrenals. Your body stimulates these hormones for some in your breast tissue. Your body makes estrogen. So the biggest reason why it is problematic is that when you're on the birth control pill, you are suppressing ovulation so you don't get pregnant. Ovulation is one of the key reasons why women typically live longer than men. It makes your circulation pump stronger. It makes your bones stronger. It makes your brain sharper. It makes your organs literally, it makes your hormones attached to receptors better throughout ovulation. There is so much literature about the importance of ovulation that women should just look up on their own. And then you go on the pill and that completely suppresses it. It is not natural for our uterine lining to not shed that blood, because it's going to build up and then it's not going to shed. That is an unnatural thing to suppress your body from doing. But also, it's the fact that we're taking these synthetic estrogens in, and when we're taking them in, they can get very easily broken down into damaged DNA, into damaged metabolites of estrogen that are privy to not saying they will absolutely cause cancer, but they're a leading cause of your breast, ovarian, uterine cancers is these bad damaged DNA called quinones that are happening mostly from the synthetic forms of estrogen. So I'm not against hormone replacement as a bioidentical for women in their 40s. There's something called out there called pellets, that is going to give women proper, as long as you're going to a proper person, proper provider, that will give your body proper ratios of estradiol, which is your strong, supportive, healthy estrogen, and then forms of testosterone, because women really drop these, your progesterone as well. They drop in your 40s. So it's not about hormone replacement that's bad. It's about the synthetic hormone replacement that becomes a problem, because quite literally your body's like, well, what are you doing here, dude? I make this. And there's a fraction of women who are like, okay, they definitely need it. But then a lot of women are get scared. Oh, well, I got on this because of PCOS, or I got on this because of endometriosis, or I got on this because of this, that, or my migraines, or my bad PMS, or my acne. And the moral of the story is that, yeah, but it's also, it's going to be, if you find yourself anxious and depressed and having gut issues, and feeling almost apathetic, like numb to emotion, yeah, that's the pill for you. And getting off of it and regulating your hormones naturally, you won't have those symptoms. Your fibroids can decrease, really, and your cysts can decrease in size and volume based off of getting on proper diet, understanding food properly, but also getting on proper supplementation and herbs. They have so much power. So we're in a shift right now of, like, it's like modern medicine. I'm not against medicine. Medicine, we want it to save our lives. I'm just not digging the way this is getting pushed onto people, prescribed to people, with like very known, obvious, I mean, side effects. If people want more information, there's books, one called Beyond the Pill, one called, I think, Brain on the Pill, Your Brain on the Pill, I think it's called. There's a lot of literature and books on what happens to the female body. It like dramatically takes away B6 and B12, and B6 is a massive cofactor in all things: mitochondria, energy production, hormone balancing, detox pathways of your hormones and the metabolites. I mean, it is a massive vitamin that we need, B6. And it just completely strips that away, causes leaky gut. I mean, we could talk about this for hours.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I'm going to end the podcast pretty soon, so I don't hold you hostage. But I would maybe 6 months down the road give you a little break. But I would like to invite you back to talk more about this, because there were so many thoughts that popped up in my head. I was just like, I heard theories about like women being attracted to different kinds of men while on the pill.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
I've heard all kinds of things.
yeah,
And going back to what you said before about um, it blocks your ovulation phase. Is that what it does? It blocks your
yeah.
ovulation
Stops you
phase.
from ovulating. Yep.
I would never want to block that phase. That I was just ovulating a few days ago, and I just had this, I felt beautiful, I felt sexy, I felt alive, my skin was beautiful. I felt creative, like I felt horny, like, which is
Yes,
good. I think that's
which
a
is
good
great.
thing.
Which
I
is
think that
great.
means you're healthy, and the idea of not having that, like, it just doesn't seem, it just seems like it doesn't seem right to me. I wouldn't want to let that part of being a woman go. And another thing to that point, I wear condoms, and whenever I tell people that, they're like, "Why? Gross." And I'm like, I mean, like, maybe if you're in a committed relationship, you can trust, you can do some things to take off the condom or whatever. There's some things you could do, but I don't know, like, suck it up, wear a condom. Like, that's just how I feel about it. It's like,
Yes.
you're, especially if you're in the dating phase and you don't know what STDs somebody might have. I just think you should be wearing one anyways, like, for those
Correct.
reasons. So it's like, I think we need to bring condoms back,
Yeah, yeah. I think you should probably just name the podcast that. Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm just
Podcast,
kidding.
let's bring the condoms back. I'll not get any subscribers for that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to wear a condom. Like, I understand
Oh
it's
my
not as
God.
pleasurable, but I just think if that's what it takes. I mean, I'm sure there might be other things. I don't know. Like, there might be other, like, isn't there the one where the women have something in them? Is that just
Yeah,
as,
it's called a
yeah,
diaphragm. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I want to just dwell on you. I just want to re-say what you just said. If you're not horny, you are not healthy. You want to be horny during ovulation. You want to feel beautiful and radiant and glowing and skinny and hot and all the things. Just like, you think about that. We were designed to attract sperm to fertilize our egg. So we want to feel glowing. That is a part of the way that God created us. It's a part that's the way that we were made. So if you're not feeling these things and you're feeling the opposite and you're not feeling sexually charged during your ovulation window, that is probably a good hormone check. Like, oh, my cortisol is probably constantly chronically high. My hormones are probably super imbalanced. I'm doing something wrong. It's actually a check I do for myself monthly. I pay attention to that. If I don't have those surges, I'm like, okay, I gotta revisit where I was at stress wise this entire month, because so I'm not doing something right here. Um, you want to be horny during your phase of ovulation,
Yeah.
because literally you're trying to attract the sperm to the egg. Your body gets more lubricated. It has a stickiness to your cervical mucus, not to be too gross, to attract the sperm and suck it in to fertilize the egg. So it is
Yeah.
really cool the way ovulation works. And also, mood and energy wise, you're the most stimulated, you're the most passionate, you're the most on fire for life. This is a good time to
Right.
have um business meetings, or start a podcast, or
Mm.
do your hit trainings or your hard workouts, or even have hard conversations with people, or in-depth conversations. You're going to feel more social during this time. You're going to feel more, socially stimulated during this time, be around crowds of people. It just makes sense when you think
Yeah.
about it.
It's just such a special part of being a woman, and like, I want to keep
Yes.
it. I don't want to get rid of it.
Don't get
Um,
rid of it.
all right, I only have one more question for you, and I definitely would love to like do a follow-up podcast to ask to get into more depth about the
Yeah,
other things we talked about. My
sure.
last question for you, and again, this might be too big to answer in one question, but if we could simplify it and maybe like, do you have a tip for this or something like that? Going back to gut health, I had actually asked my listeners, hey, shoot me some questions that you want me to ask Dr. Stef. And Laura, shout out to Laura, she wanted to know, do you have any tips for healing the gut? I know that's a bigger conversation and we
Ooh.
touched a lot about that already. But if you personally, I tried the FODMAP diet and that worked for me. If you had a client in your practice, like what would be a tip that you would help guide them towards finding good gut
So
health?
yeah, so FODMAP is definitely a nice gold standard if someone's coming in with gut issues. But the acronym is SADGAS, SADGAS, that I tell people. So SADGAS stands for sugar, alcohol, dairy, gluten, artificial sweeteners, and soy. These are the things that are going to be feeding the bad bacteria in your gut the most. So the gut healing process is not easy, because it does require you to try to cut these things out for an extended period of time. And then, of course, adding in proper supplements or herbs, depending on what we have to kill off. Even if they're just like, okay, I don't know which one I want to kill off, or I don't want to get a test, they can even just start with oregano. Oregano or rosemary herbal tinctures are really solid bad bacteria kill offs. But, and then, for example, okay, Dr. Steph, I cut out, sugar, alcohol, dairy, gluten, artificial sweetener, and soy, but I'm still having reactions to certain food. That's where FODMAP comes in, right? So, like, a lot of people are going to be very bothered by garlic, onions, garlic powder, and onion powder.
Yeah.
But then they have to figure out what foods they can't handle and what foods they can, right? Not everybody's going to be bothered by the same stuff. Those are like the pretty common ones. Alcohol, of course, are going to bother them the most, cause the most bloating. But, you might be able to do cauliflower, or I might be able to do cauliflower and you can't, or I can do broccoli and you can't. To looking at the FODMAP and then seeing what you can and can't have, because you don't know exactly which bacteria reacts to which foods until you kind of vet that elimination process out. And then you can start introducing foods in and see how you might be able to eat feta cheese, but you can't eat mozzarella cheese. And that makes sense, because the lactose and the way that the cheese is actually, made, and its properties. But I would start there, cutting out those things I said for sad gas, and then looking at a FODMAP diet to pay attention to what foods that bother you and what foods don't. You're trying to be as little processed as possible, like as little as humanly possible. I would definitely tell them to cook their veggies instead of eating it raw, because they're gonna have a hard time digesting raw veggies, just to get more fiber, or slowly getting more fiber into their body. And I would definitely tell them to make sure their animal product is organic, because they are pumping in crap into our animals.
Mhm.
Growth hormone, antibiotics, steroids, pesticides, you name it. And then we're eating it, and our bad bacteria is like, thank you. They're freaking throwing a rave in there. So we want to suppress them, and then we want to eat prebiotic foods, stuff like artichoke, asparagus, sauerkraut's awesome. They could do kimchi, which is kind of like a spicy cabbage. Miso soup if that's their thing. Kefir, not my
I
thing.
do kombucha, but I don't know if that's too sugary, but I've been rocking the kombucha lately.
Yeah, I actually don't even. Yeah, I don't recommend kombucha because of the fact they got
The
to they got to
sugar,
put the sugar
right?
in. Yeah, like that's not one of my top recs. I think that it can actually do the opposite effect of
Yeah.
what you're trying to accomplish. But like for example, I'll go to Aldi and I get these jars of artichoke that's just sitting in water and like ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, and I will crush artichoke. I
That
mean,
that does the trick too, artichokes?
artichoke's amazing for your good bacteria in your stomach. Yeah,
Like,
amazing.
in a can, like in a jar?
In a jar. Yeah, yeah. You
Wow.
gotta make
Okay,
sure
I
there's no
didn't know
sugar.
that.
Yeah,
I
you have to
saw
make
there
sure
was
there's
like
no sugar.
pickles and stuff. So I was purposely staying away from those things like pickles and artichokes
No, you can do
because
pickles. The
I thought there was like I when I looked at the ingredients, there was a couple things I didn't recognize. So I was like, I don't know if this is bad, but maybe it's not bad.
Yeah, so like if you see ascorbic acid, that's vitamin C, that's okay. You just don't want
Okay.
it to be saying like sugar or like these artificial sweetener words. Which you could, I mean, if you're not super sure, I would always recommend doing a quick Google search, but just to see what it is. But yeah, like for I can speak to Aldi. I know that they carry it. It's literally there's like it's in water, ascorbic acid, and salt. And if you I drink it sometimes just to taste it. I'm like, it just tastes like salt water. And it's just artichoke in there, and I just fork it and I just eat it. Because honestly, I'm not gonna cook artichoke. I just know me. I'm just not gonna make artichoke. I'm too lazy for that. But sauerkraut is a really great way to do it. I
I
get
like
some organic
sauerkraut.
sauerkraut. I like to throw that on my meat products. Like I'll put it on my chicken, I'll put it on my ground turkey, and I'll just eat it up. Um, some people just eat it on their own. Sauerkraut's a very well known prebiotic food that's well versed. But I do pickles. Yeah, I like pickles. Again, that it's not your buttered chip pickle. Like nothing liquid sugar. But yeah. So these kind of green bananas, eating your banana green will feed the good bacteria. Um, oh my gosh, white beans. So like cannellini beans can help your good bacteria in your gut.
That's funny. This whole
Fibers.
time, I thought absorbic acid or whatever it was something terrible for you. I was like, that doesn't sound good. But now you've just like made my day because now I'm gonna like go on a frenzy. I'm gonna have pickles and artichokes and everything like that.
Yeah,
So
and like I tell people to snack like that. Like snack like you're in the Mediterranean region of the world, Italy, Greece, whatever. Like I eat a lot of olives. I eat
olives are
artichoke. This is the
good.
way that I snack. I snack on nuts and seeds from a company that I really trust. Like that's the way I snack. I don't snack on cookies and pretzels and
No.
chips.
Yeah, no, that's not good. All right, so I'm going to end the podcast there. Thank you so much for having this conversation. I really enjoyed it. I love you. You're so like enthusiastic and
Thank you.
passionate about what you do. So there must be like the guinea bond we have.
Yes, 100%. We know.
um, so let them know before I end the podcast, let them know like where they can find you. I'll include a link to your Instagram below, but if there's anything else you want to add to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at obviously Dr. Steph _ on Instagram. You can also find me at New Heights CN on Facebook. That's my company. I had a practice in Bensalem, PA, where we do chiropractic and aesthetic treatments. All my nutrition stuff is virtual that I do one-on-one. But you can so my company is called New Heights Chiropractic and Nutrition. So people can find me on Google. That's my website. You'll see me all over there. But on Instagram, it's Dr. Steph. On YouTube, it's Dr. Steph _ so you can find me on multiple different platforms. I am not on TikTok. You can't really find me there, but
I haven't gone down there as well. If I get an assistant who wants to do that for me, they could do it. I have no interest in going on TikTok.
I have no interest. Yeah, I tried it once. I was like, I don't like the feel of this. But yes, thank you so much for having me. I love to talk about this. I can't wait for our follow-up. I will be glad to join you again. I'm hoping that this was helpful for your listeners.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
yeah,
if anybody needs one-on-one support and wants to hear more about my hormone reset program, just DM me on Instagram. I definitely answer. I think I answer pretty quickly compared to most people. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And again, to the listeners, episode 113, if you enjoyed what you heard today, please don't forget to hit subscribe to help me grow this channel this year and get more of this information out to more people. And that's it. Have a good day, guys. Bye.
Yeah.